All right, here we go. OverDrive, off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app. Your home smart speaker up on TSN 4. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan. How are we feeling on a beautiful Monday here in Toronto? Actually, somewhat nostalgic. The old 2020 days, 2021 days. I went for a walk today.
Wow.
Went out for a walk, got outside.
You are really turning the corner, pal.
Yeah. Well, you've been inspiring, right? You and your life coach, how many times have you told me you got to get up, you got to get active? I saw that Sheldon Keefe was using my line today discussing John Tavares, that he's got to stay active, which I famously coined back in the day.
That
when
was
I
with Naz. Yeah, you were like,
Kadri.
so what are you doing? You staying active? It was a great line. It was a great
wasn't
line.
that when you said goodbye to him? You said stay active.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
It was. All right, Naz, great catching up with you, man. Stay active. We'll catch up soon. Yeah, saying that to a professional athlete. Meanwhile, I hadn't moved off the couch in like 3 days. But, yeah, beautiful weather. The All-Star game came and went. I think it went off about as well as you could expect. I don't know how you guys felt about it. But
I don't know. Guys, that was game over for me. I don't know if we need to see that thing again. It was great, McDavid. I was happy the Toronto guys, but I like the Kucherov thing and just like to see McDavid win $1 million for that. I was like, you could have just handed him a check and said thanks for being the best player in the world. I don't know. I loved it for the fans because I did some stuff down there. I saw the kids' faces, and it was awesome. Like, saw some old friends, saw kids, families, at the big All-Star festivities, the Fan Fest. But that stuff, the game, it's like, I don't know. I don't know if it was the Kucherov thing that put me off or just – it's just, I guess, for kids. I literally cannot watch it. And I don't know if the players – they got to come up with something or just gas it altogether. I don't know what you do, though.
I thought this was, if you ask me, this was the best one I've seen in a while. Because – at least the other time, I was laughing out loud when we were talking about on Friday when you said, I'm done with the capes and the Superman uniforms and all of that. You're right. I felt the exact same way. At least there was some skill on display, and the guys somewhat tried. Somewhat. In the games, I thought the games were okay. And you're right. Everyone's pointing to Kucherov. I'm like, okay, half the people are complaining, I don't want to watch it. And then when he doesn't try and doesn't want to be there, now they're mad at him. You can't have it both ways. I thought it was entertaining. My son went down to Fanfare yesterday, had the time of his life. I thought this was one of the better ones that I've seen and have participated. I've been to a lot and covered them in media and shown up and stuff. There was some hokey stuff, but I think for the most part, they're trying, and I have to give them props for that.
Yeah, I do think there's a few different things that I would look back on. One, the Kucherov stuff is the reason why people don't put any faith in it or do not pay much attention to it, because all you need is one guy to think he's too cool for it, and it has a negative effect on everyone else. And that's effectively what it was. He was either, I don't know what he was doing the night before or the day of, but he got there and clearly he just wasn't.
I thought
in the
about
mood.
that. I thought he might have been banged up, or he's just like, I can't do this. But why didn't you just go to? I'm sure Clayton Keller would have loved to do it. Just say, you know what, Clayton, go ahead, because I'm not doing this.
Exactly. And I think that's a kind of an example of Kucherov, who's won a Hart, won cups, going to the Hall of Fame. Guys of that stature. I don't know if he felt any obligation or any excitement to be included, but it did seem like a pretty significant honor to be a part of that group, because you were talking the best of the best. It was McDavid and Matthews and McKinnon and McCarr and Draisaitl, and it was the inaugural event. And I think what became clear to me, a couple of different things. If you go in with the attitude and the approach that it's goofy and hokey or whatever, then this past weekend did not change your mind. Right? If that's your approach, and that's the approach of many, many people, then this wasn't going to satisfy you. If the approach was, I want to see star players, show a little personality, have a little fun, maybe do a wow moment or two, then you probably found that, and you were probably pretty happy. But I do think the bias is pretty strong in terms of my viewing of it, because it was in Toronto, which has always been the case. When it's in St. Louis, people in St. Louis love it. When it's in Florida, they love it. When it's in Tampa, when it's in L.A., and when it's in Toronto, you're like, all right, I know all those landmarks. I know where they're going. There's people I personally know that are down there. Instagram's on fire, and Twitter and TikTok. So it felt more engaging. It felt like, I know from my own personal experience, my family was like, let's throw it on, because they know it's here. They knew people down there, right? I had people, friends down there, nephews down there. Like you mentioned, your son went down there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I know people down there. I'll check it out because I'm more intrigued by it. But in 5 or 6 years, if it goes to Detroit, I probably won't. Because I don't have a connection to Detroit or wherever it's going to be next. And that's just the truth. And I don't think there's anything wrong with admitting that. I'm not saying it was the greatest ever because it was in Toronto, but it was here. It meant more to people in Toronto. And I think as a result, it played out probably the best way the NHL could ever expect it to play out. McDavid wins the skills competition. That's what you want. And Matthews and the Leafs win the game. That's what you want. Like, it could not have been any better. Bieber's behind the bench. Matthews wins MVP. Like, literally, if you scripted it, if you're the NHL, that's probably exactly how you wanted it to play out.
I agree.
So from that standpoint, it was probably an A+ across the board. Does it mean anything that the Leafs won or Matthews won MVP? I don't think so. Of course not. I mean, obviously, it's an artificial thing. But I will say that
Jimmy had a good time.
Jimmy Montgomery was
Jimmy
fired up at
Montz.
the quarter zip behind the bench.
Yeah, Jimmy Montz was enjoying himself. Bieber, I mean, he's star power. I couldn't stop staring at him. That coat was like
Wild.
outrageous. It was wild. It was
Wild
outrageous. Like, I kept thinking, like, remember is the game Super Mario, like there's like a strawberry that bounces around? Like, it looked like a giant strawberry. I don't know why.
The toad, I think it is. Isn't it the toad?
Yeah, like it's something else. I mean, he is something else. I agree. Like, because it was local, maybe I felt a little bit more attachment to it, but I watched it. I thought there was some nice skill on display.
It was fine.
But it was fine. But ultimately, you're right. Like, if the NHL if they had a checklist of things they wanted to get to, they pretty much like hit them as far as, star power, teams winning, Matthews team winning, McDavid, skill on display. And you're right. I got the sense from Kucherov, and even like Draisaitl had a tough skills competition. That guy usually scores 4 out of 4 on those targets. It took him like a minute and a half to get it.
Well,
like, I think after a while, the guys were like, "Oh,
they're
this
getting
is
nervous."
not
I
going
think
well.
too.
Yeah, you go the other way and like, okay, I'm not going to try it.
How
anymore.
about Barzell? Like, trying to saucer. They ran out of pucks.
Yeah.
Like, that's one he's going to hear about, man. When he gets back into the scrum today with the boys, it's like, man, you don't know how to saucer a puck? Like, you're in the National Hockey League.
But the thing is that guy will probably have a ridiculous saucer pass tonight. You know what I
of
mean?
course
like,
he will.
Like,
yeah,
it just,
of course he will.
You're looking at it going, like, I think after a while guys were knuckling down, and then if it didn't go that well, it's like, okay, I got to like pretend I'm not trying type of thing, because I felt like there was an element of like pride. You're like, okay, I better knuckle down, but if it's not going well, you just got to smile and move on. And I think a few of those guys, I thought Draisaitl did that. I know Kucherov there was more to it. He was playing the heel and all that. But I think early on he was trying and then realized that it's not going. So
that is the all-time great guy move to be, yes, you're going to fail. And you're like, oh, I don't even care. Actually, I'd rather fail. Like, you totally start mailing it in. It's like, all right, we understand. That's a calculated move. But you know what I found funny? Like, Bieber was right in the front of the whole thing all weekend. And, him on the ice for warm-up, I thought that was pretty cool. And I thought the NHL did a really good job of miking everyone up and supplying as much, video and, posting online as they possibly could. But there was a time where he was sitting at center ice and he was taking pictures with everybody.
Yeah.
Right. And all the players were coming over. And I am not a big proponent of, on Twitter. For those of you not on Twitter, ever since Musk took over, there's 2 tabs. Like, historically, you just see whoever you follow. And now they have the For You tab, which is generally completely useless. And generally, you see tweets from people that you don't even know who they are. It's some guy in Indiana or something that tweets out about what he likes on pizza. And you're like, why am I seeing this right now? But Bieber's picture with Sid and McKinnon, someone pointed out that he leaned towards Sid, and they're like, he's going to crop McKinnon out 100%. And he did. On his Instagram account, he cropped out McKinnon. McKinnon's on the right of him. You can see it.
He did.
He cropped out McKinnon. He 100% just wanted Sid in his Instagram
that is so funny.
I was dying this morning when I saw that.
He's probably, I mean, think about it. Fanboy, he's probably a huge Sidney Crosby fan, and Nathan McKinnon is a superstar who's younger than him. So, right? Like, it just, like, he's probably in awe of meeting or hanging with Sidney Crosby, and like for him on his Twitter account, I saw that, but I didn't put two and two together.
See there, you can see his arm right there, McKinnon's arm. He completely cropped him out. And the reason I mentioned the For You app is that I saw someone tweeted that out. They're like, look how he leans towards Sid. He's 100% going to crop McKinnon out of the picture, and he posted that on Instagram this morning, and McKinnon was out of it. So. Anyway, listen, I think if you're the Leafs, if you're the NHL, it went off about as well as you possibly could hope. No one got injured, right? Yeah. Nothing silly happened that I'm aware of anyway. Everyone came in, had a good time. I'm sure there were parties all over the place. And, you move on. You move on with the season where the Leafs got to go right back in the action tonight where they got the Islanders going. And, Patrick Waugh's in town. I didn't see Patrick Waugh over the weekend. I'm guessing maybe he was here, maybe he was in New York, probably setting up down in New York. He just got the job. But it comes at you quick, man. Yeah. It comes at you quick. Like the 4 All-Stars, we'll see what they got tonight. But the other guys, they've been, I'm sure, in Cancun or Vegas or whatever. You're going tonight.
Well,
you better
it's
be ready
a hit or miss
to
game. It's a worrisome game if you're a coach because you're like, I don't care if the guys got a workout in or they worked out while they're away. It's a crapshoot what goes on tonight. It could be the best performance of all time, or it could be absolutely horrendous. So it's literally a coin flip of what you're going to get tonight.
And for both sides, like both coaches got to be thinking tonight, what am I going to get from my players? Because you're right. Like regardless of what they did, their time, like these guys are in such great shape. Missing a couple of days, working out, doing whatever, is not going to hurt them. But their timing, their cadence, all of that, like just their thought process. If they turn their mind off for 3 days, they've got to get it going. And obviously morning skate, yesterday's practice would help that. But it's how you start again. Like, I'm even looking like tonight's game. There's only 2 games tonight, tomorrow night. Like, I think all eyes are on that Edmonton-Vegas game because they had a streak going on. Like, and, if anything, they probably wanted to keep that going. Now, all of a sudden, you get time off in between. You have no idea what everybody's been doing in that break. And can you just pick up right where you left off? That's what they're hoping to do. Same thing. The Leafs have won 3 in a row. Samsonov playing very well coming into that. He goes to Mexico, and he admitted he came back early because he wants to be locked in. But again, timing. You're not taking pucks in Mexico. His wife's not shooting on him in the parking lot. He's got to, get it right back because, he's, for me, I all eyes are on him for me because he's still needing to reestablish himself where everybody else, like, they already know what they are type of thing.
Yeah. I wonder how far away we are from – have you seen those, like, AI headsets that are circulating?
Yeah.
Like you put it – I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a helmet almost.
Sensory. Yeah, like Apple has one. They just released one. But there's a goalie one.
That's what I'm saying. Like, could you imagine Samsonov's on the beach in Cancun and pretending to take shots? How, like, ridiculous that would be to see someone do that. I wouldn't put it past him. Maybe that keeps you dialed in. I don't know. But you bring up a good point. I mean, the guys that left, it's time for a break, vacation. John Tavares would be one of them. And let's hear what Sheldon Keefe had to say earlier today about Tavares and his break and what to expect going into tonight.
A guy like John, I don't think he likes to have too much time away, and I think he's one of a handful of guys that traveled with his gear. But that's kind of what he likes to do is to stay active.
Stay active. See? Stay active. I'm assuming he's not talking hockey gear. He's talking workout gear, I would have to believe.
Dude, I wouldn't put it past him. Maybe it is hockey gear. Like you go down you can find a rink wherever you're going.
Well, be safe, keep active, and we'll do this again down the road. We appreciate it.
Be safe too. Like, what am I?
Well, it was during
Mr.
COVID.
Rogers?
It was during COVID, wasn't it?
No, I know, but that was early. I think that was when we had no sports, and we were just like, anyone want to come on and talk and be safe though? Like, what kind of advice is that to another adult?
Keep active.
Keep active. That one stung. That
Yeah,
one,
that's
admittedly, in
tough.
retrospect, I
if
wish
me
I
or
could pull that
Noodles
one
had
back.
said that on the way out, you would have the head shake and
Yeah.
the look would have been just like,
Yeah, it
what
would have been.
on earth are you doing?
That was a weird one, man. Like, you can kind of hear my mind spinning because I stall a little bit.
Yeah, stay
And-
safe and keep active, and we'll talk
Keep
to you
active,
again.
man. We'll do this again. I don't know.
Love
I
it.
guess I was trying to get somewhere of like, what was going on in the world and connect that with the conversation, which was completely unnecessary. But anyway,
I
be
just,
active.
I saw that though. Like you mentioned, like JT maybe skating somewhere. I love all the fake outrage about Sidney going to the mountains and skating. Did you see him training on the outdoor rink there? I don't know if you saw that.
That was in like Montana. I assume he was
Yeah.
doing something like a shoot or something there.
But he missed like the draft and then showed up for the All-Star game and all that. And you know, a couple of heroes like pointing out, well, can't show up or whatever. Should be all over him. To me, I mean, the guy shows up like he's in the All-Star game all the time. And he went and trained. Like I thought it was really cool. He was
He's
skating
at
an
a
outdoor
status where he could just say, look,
rink. He should be, yeah.
I'm doing this. Take it
Yeah.
or leave it. Like,
Yeah,
Exactly.
my guess would be like you look at Ovechkin the last little while, and Ovi wasn't an All-Star, although you could have thrown him a gratuitous bone, you would think, because of who he is. But Ovi probably would have said, "I'm not coming. Like you
Right.
can ask me to come all you want." I'm guessing my guess would be if this All-Star game was in somewhere else, Sid probably would pass.
I'm
But-
guessing Panarin said the same thing. Was Panarin at this?
No, he wasn't. Now he
Yeah.
has a child, I believe, coming. There's something going on with. I don't remember the detail of
Right.
what was coming up with Panarin, but he pulled out almost immediately. I did see the Sid skate. I was wondering why he was in Montana, though. I assumed he was shooting like a commercial or something like that.
No,
I never
think he
saw the
went up there.
details.
I saw I think the Penguins put it out on their website. Like it was like kind of behind the scenes. He went up there and says he goes there in the summer, but he wanted to go there in the winter and see wildlife and stuff.
Yeah.
And he showed a picture on his phone of how he saw like a wolf and, kind of, it was interesting. Like it actually showed a little bit of personality. We know nothing about the gentleman, and he's been in the league how many years? 18 years.
Yeah, this is 19th year. Sid.
And honestly, I thought it was cool. It was him on a bird flying in, and he was saying, "Hey, I went up. I can't remember the reason he went up, but there's the outdoor rink. Joe from the Bridge has it up. Like,
Yeah,
I thought
that's
it was
a
really
cool vid. I mean,
Awesome.
I don't care one way or the other. Again, and
Yeah.
Sid is the definition of an ambassador, the definition of a guy that everyone loves. Sidney Crosby.
Right.
He's never done anything that would make you turn on him ever.
Right.
I think the bigger conversation might revolve around why the NHL All-Star Game has had issues, and this could be another symptom of that. Because the comparison always is, well, what about in the NBA? You think LeBron would do that? Probably not. Like LeBron would be a captain.
Right.
LeBron would be a team captain. That's what LeBron would have done. So I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but that is another symptom of.
He
I don't
also
care
goes
that
to
much.
Boston and doesn't put his gear on and doesn't play. So
Right, but if we're gonna have a
And
conversation, again, I don't care enough. Like, don't get me wrong. I didn't even pay attention to that. I would not
Yeah.
have thought twice about Sid if he was there or not. We were on the air while the draft was going on. What I'm saying is, we always talk about the players have to drive interest in the event,
Yeah.
right? Until they care, you can't expect everyone else to care. And if Sid's like, I'm going to go to Montana instead of being there, that probably does suggest he's got other priorities. I don't think that's
Right.
wrong. I mean, I think that's just a fact. So, again, if you want to compare apples to apples with other leagues and how they might operate, Sid's the man. Yet he was here the next day. He played over the weekend, so he was even out there making passes when he didn't have to during the skills competition.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like he didn't have to be a part of that. That was kind of cool. I thought him and Bedard were like, I'll go out.
Yeah.
We'll throw our gear on for 2.5 hours, even though we're not doing anything. That seems like a pretty reasonable.
That probably
makeup.
was his trade-off. You
Yeah.
know what? Like, hey, I'll make it up to you.
That
I'll go
works
out,
for me.
And me and the kid can go out. I saw two gentlemen, and I know, Stumpy and Dougie. I don't know if you guys
I
saw
told
that.
Stumpy you have to wear an XL7 helmet next time you go out there to make passes. You can't show everyone your hair like that. He didn't look.
Why did you say that? He looks awesome.
I know he's
I
got
love
like it's.
Stumpy.
I know. I just said because he would chirp me about something else. I said you cannot go out there with no hat or no. You have to wear an XL7 and a full cage and not let people see your hair.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
there you
loved
go.
it. I love seeing Dougie and Stumpy, and I thought again they tried. They tried.
They gave it a shot.
Everybody got a little piece of what they wanted, and if you didn't want to see it, no problem. You didn't turn it on. That's basically
well,
what
exactly.
it is.
You had a choice, right? You could have watched the Raptors, who had themselves a tough weekend last night. Now everyone's gunning for Scotty Barnes because he was pretty passive in overtime, the double OT last night. This is what's coming, though. Like, they're not a very good team. They're going to lose a lot of games. Scotty Barnes doesn't have a lot of help, and he's young. Right? But if you want to wear the crown, what comes with the crown in the NBA, if you're the guy, if everyone's building around you, is the expectations never stop. Like, people are going to be on you all the time. Didn't shoot enough, didn't shoot well enough, shot too much. Like, it never stops. And specifically in the NBA, if you're the face of a franchise and a burgeoning superstar and a guy that basically is going to be at the forefront of whatever they're going to do in the future, then you have an off night. You're going to hear about it. And I didn't love his body language in overtime. He was very passive in overtime. That's on him to figure it out, Darko to figure it out. But Raptors lose again last night. And again, on the road, it hasn't been great for them. Let's put it that way, on the road. And I don't anticipate that changing, but they got a big week. The trade deadline's on Thursday. So we have the trade deadline coming up in the NBA, and we'll see if the Raptors end up doing anything. All right, we got Bruce Boudreau coming up. Bruce, he's obviously a Toronto guy. He was down there doing his thing throughout the All-Star weekend. We'll get his take on that. Leafs in action tonight. Oilers back in action tomorrow. We have Chris Johnston, who will join us just after 6. Chris was in London today. Was in the room for the press conference. The London police obviously were speaking on the 2018 case, and they didn't give a lot of details.
No.
Well, I was just going to say they couldn't give a lot of details, and honestly, if you think we have any kind of comment or take on the details that weren't given, I personally don't, because I just don't. There was not much said, and I don't know. I just don't know how to comment on that. I really don't.
There's too many questions right now, but ultimately, like everyone, the reporters were peppering them. I watched the whole thing with questions, and they were saying, I respect your question, but it's a due process within the courts. I can't answer at this time because of the investigation. So it sucks. There's a lot of people that want answers, and unfortunately, you have to let the process play out.
Yeah, exactly, and that's it. I mean, from a legalese standpoint, the three of us don't have the answer. We'll see what CJ can tell us about the mood in the room. Any details that stood out to him. Obviously, James and others were reporting on it. Rick Westhead's down there. Rick was reporting on it. Rick said the same thing. He kept asking different questions. They weren't really giving any answers on. I don't know if that was what was anticipated, but that's effectively how it played out today. And, from an NHL standpoint, the NHL issued their statement. These guys, the 5 players involved, the 4 that are still currently in the NHL, they're not going to play again. Like, it doesn't feel like they're going to play again while this process plays out. And, beyond that, we're not quite sure. So we'll see what CJ can tell us just after 6 o'clock, and we'll continue to see where this continues to go. But it's not going to be a quick process. No. It's going to take a while. The names are out now. The charges have been laid. They did say this is it, effectively. That was my understanding. Like, there's no other people involved. So, from that standpoint, we'll see, again, how it plays out. So Chris Johnston will join us just after 6 o'clock. It's media night tonight down at Super Bowl. Mike Golick Jr. will be down there. We'll catch up with Mike later this afternoon. The Grammys were going off last night. There's a lot to get into today, including, again, the Leafs back in action. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. OverDrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Our buddy Bruce Boudreau coming up in about a half an hour. We're looking back on the NHL All-Star Game. The NBA All-Star Game is upcoming, and I guess over the weekend it was announced that the Milwaukee Bucks coaching staff will be at the All-Star Game, which means Doc Rivers will be there.
He's 1-3, and they've been getting waxed.
I know. It's absolutely wild. And he was asked about it. Let's play the clip, because he's got to be embarrassed. Like, he's self-aware. Doc's been around a game for a long time.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be there. That's embarrassing. It's a bad look,
tough.
too. It's like, that's how good our team's been, that I'm there representing us. But the reason I'm there is because the guy who got us here, got fired. Here's what Doc Rivers had to say about the whole situation.
That is ridiculously bad. It really is. Well, Adrian's going to get some money, that's for sure, and a ring. It's one of these quirky things. I think there should be a rule somehow that someone else does it other than me. Maybe I'll send my staff, and I'll go on vacation.
Run that by Adam.
I'm going to run that by Adam Silver. I think he's Adam's a good man. I think he'll understand.
So I think if you're Adrian Griffin, you probably accept the money reluctantly, but why not?
Yeah.
But imagine receiving an All-Star game ring from Doc Rivers. Like, how fast would you throw that in the nearest lake, pond, river?
Not me.
You'd
Not
keep
me.
it? You'd keep it.
Of course. And I would rewind the tape and say, remember the money thing you said too? Where's the money? I was 30-13 and I get fired and I deserve to be at the All-Star game.
So
What are
let me
you
get this
talking
straight.
about? You
Let me get
claim
this straight. Let me
you
get this
wanted
straight.
guys to get rings for the Raps that got traded mid-season.
Yes, exactly. That's
Okay.
a championship, dude. You're talking about an All-Star ring. You think Adrian
I
Griffin...
coached like a champion.
But
I
he-
coached like a champion.
You think he wants that? Put yourself in his shoes. Here it is. UPS just dropped it off from Doc. Hey, hope you're well. Here's a little token of my appreciation while I'm at the
No,
All-Star game.
I'd put
know
it in
what
the
you do?
trophy case downstairs and say, that's the ring, because I coached a team to a 30-13 record, and they fired me. But I was good enough to be named the head coach of the All-Star team, and that's the ring to prove it.
Oh, I'd hate that ring.
I think you put it on eBay or you sell it and you sign it and you give the money to charity or you keep the money yourself because
That's
it's yours.
That's a great summer reception, like you wear it.
No,
and,
it's
hey,
not.
what-
That's
That
not-
is.
You're not wearing that to a
Come
cocktail
on.
party.
You didn't.
Hey, tell us about that. Wow, you coached at an All-Star game? Actually, funny story. I didn't. I got fired right before it, and then Doc Rivers got to go, but he was nice enough to send me this ring that's actually sized to his finger, so it doesn't even fit me properly.
But
I would treat that ring like lunatic fans treat a jersey of a guy that demanded out, right? Like when LeBron demanded out of Cleveland and they started lighting his jersey on fire, that would be what I would do if I was Adrian Griffin. I would try to basically destroy that like they tried to destroy the ring in the Lord of the Rings. Right,
But-
I would be the complete opposite of Gollum in Lord of the Rings. I would despise that ring.
there it is. The
Hazy,
alumni
let me
code.
just ask you,
Custom.
if you weren't in this,
Custom.
Did you see the look on Tux's face?
Mortified.
When you said he's got a custom.
Mortified.
Hayes, let me just ask you, if you weren't in this industry and we were at some type of outdoor kind of garden reception and you saw that and you were close to this shoulder and you saw the patch and you said, wow, like, wouldn't that be a conversation piece for you?
Yes, but you know what the difference is? Once I broke that ice, said, hey, cool jacket, you were a Leaf, your answer would be, yes, I was.
Yeah.
I actually played. Where with Adrian Griffin, it would be, what was it like? You must have, who'd you coach? Team LeBron? Team KD?
Yeah.
Actually, I got fired. I wasn't even there. And then immediately that guy would be like, I can't believe you're wearing that ring.
Why are you
No,
wearing
I
How
just
on
think-
earth are you wearing that thing?
No one's going to Google if you were there or not. You just say, you know what? I got the ring as a...
Okay. Well, you
And-
know what?
and
I
it
could
was
play
a-
that game. I could play that game. Where's my championship ring? It's around here somewhere. There it is.
Dude.
I played on the team. No, according to you, I'm a champion. According to you,
That
I
is
won
a
the 2019
plastic ring
championship.
you got when you went into
doesn't
the
matter.
building.
According to you, according to you, it's all about the ring, man.
I think
all
it-
about the
Hey,
ring. Now you
if
see
you
me,
want,
John
hey, if
Cena.
you want to go to a nice like outdoor kind of summer vibe type of thing, and you want to embarrass yourself wearing that, and you just say, hey, I was a Raps fan, and I got that at the rink, and I wear it because I'm a part of the team. Some guy's going to say, you are a loser.
That not according to you, not according to you, because you're saying it would just be a really cool item. It would be an
Dude,
icebreaker.
me and
I will wear it
Adrian
one day.
Griffin. No, me and Adrian Griffin are associated with pro teams. You're a fan.
Yeah.
You can't wear that ring as a fan. There's a big difference.
I beg to differ. I think this is more acceptable because as a fan, I experienced it.
No.
I was a part of it. I watched it. Adrian Griffin will not step foot on that All-Star court. He won't be in the city. It had nothing to do with the All-Star
More importantly,
weekend.
let me ask you this question. Do you think the man gets hired again?
As a head coach, I doubt it. It feels like a weird look.
Well, why did is there a reason why he got fired to start off with? Like, what the hell was going? They're 30-13, and I know their play had dipped, but it just said like their
Noodles, it's
direction.
pretty simple. There was internal conversations between star players and management where it's like, we got a good record, but this guy's just not going to get us over the top. And somebody said, okay, and they gassed him. There's no other way you could explain that.
Right.
Yeah. Like that, because having a winning record on a good team, and yes, they'd kind of stubbed their toe. Something off kilter happened there. And I've got the perfect analogy here, and you guys decide. Bryan Hayes got a Barry Colts jersey when we went up there and dropped the puck. Did you not?
That is accurate.
And it had a C on it, did it not?
It did, yeah.
So that would be you in summer league skating around with that jersey on, and somebody goes, "Are you the captain of the Barry Colts?" Well, they gave it to me, but I wasn't a captain. So it's the exact same thing with this ring. Like he would, if you wear it, you're going to ask, and then people say, "Are you the captain of the Barry Colts? Did you coach in the All-Star game?" You'd be, "No." Then why the hell do you got the ring?
You're right.
Like,
there's a half truth. It's a half truth.
It's a half.
Adrian Griffin was the head coach of the Bucks when they were on their way to representing, I guess, the East or whatever for the NBA All-Star game. Factual. But did he actually show up and coach the team? No, he did not. Did I play for the Colts? Yes. Was I anywhere close to captain material? No, I wasn't. Not even trying to vote on who our captain was. But that is a pretty good one. I'm telling you, dude, watch what you wish for. I'm going to show up one day, and I'm going to wear this ring unannounced, and I want to see what you guys say. I don't know. Maybe it'll be at the Canadian Open.
No, I know when it's going to be.
Where do you suggest I should wear this ring?
If you and Al's brother win the football, like the pool here, you wear the ring while you're doing that symbol or whatever that you.
Yes.
Like the ring
Just
will be
wear it on the show one day because you make enough hand gestures. Well, don't make it obvious, but we'll be able to say, "Are you wearing this stupid ring?"
Okay.
It's plastic.
Yeah, but that's just the three of us. I need an outsider. Like I got to be at. You know what? We're going somewhere later this week. Maybe I'll show up wearing this. Maybe because I think we're going to go check out our friends at TaylorMade later in the week. Maybe I'll walk in. I'll take it off. Put my golf glove on. We'll see if anyone mentions it. All right, and you have to be around just to see if anyone points out, "Hey, that's a cool ring, man. Where'd you get that ring?" And I'll have a full backstory. If not there, Canadian Open, we'll find something.
Please pick another spot. You can't embarrass me like that. I can't be a part of that.
All right,
if the guy tries to give you a golf glove and you stick your hand out with that ring on, I'll leave. I'll walk out.
You're right.
It would be awesome.
I don't want to do it there. I have too much respect for people there.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
But all right, I'll find another place. All right, Bruce Boudreau coming up. We'll ask Bruce how he thinks about this, right? I'll bet you Bruce coached at an All-Star game. I'd have to believe it when he was in Washington, and I'm sure he did.
He did, because I was at one where he was the coach of the All-Star team. Like, I actually had a chat with him in the elevator at the hotel. I'll never forget. So
awesome. We'll see if he got a ring. Did he get paid for that? Right? We'll get into all that with Bruce in about a half an hour. Leafs Islanders tonight. The unofficial beginning of the second half. We got a bit of a pressure battle that we're going to get into here, right? Pitting some players, some coaches, some GMs, certain positions against each other in the country, because all 7 Canadian teams are in it for different reasons, right? Some teams are not really in the race. Others think they can win a Stanley Cup. Some teams are right in the middle. So we'll look ahead to that as well. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Bruce Boudreau coming up in about 20 minutes. Leafs in action tonight. Raptors in action tonight. Leafs at home against the Islanders. Raptors continue their road trip in New Orleans tonight. It's Super Bowl week, right? I guess there's some not a big, but possible controversy about the fields that each team is using for practice this week.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because I guess the
quality
Chiefs,
of it, you mean?
The quality of it. So I guess the Chiefs are using the Raiders' practice facility, which is indoors and state of the art, and the Niners are set up. My understanding is they're at UNLV, and they said that like the turf, it's garbage.
It's Christie
like,
Pitts, or
yeah,
what?
they're
what
like
are we
this
doing?
place is a joke. They don't like the turf that they're using or the sod that they're using, and furthermore, I guess it's outdoors and it's been raining in Vegas. Like I don't think it's great weather down there.
But here's the thing, Hazy B. Nicole Anderson, what does she do a lot of the times?
Site surveys.
So you're telling me a guy from the 49ers didn't go investigate this nonsense beforehand to say this is a great spot for us to do this? It's the Super Bowl. Give me a break. You got to send your people there to investigate and look at it and say and give feedback saying we're doing this, we're not doing that, acceptable or not acceptable. You feel me?
Yeah, good.
I
mean,
get it.
I think that's a good point. What I guess what I would push back on though is that you would assume the NFL would take that into account themselves as well, right? Like, I don't think teams show up at an outdoor rink game and say, "Wait a minute, we're sending our guy out to check." Like,
Yeah, it
the
should be
NHL's
league
like
standard, right? League
exactly.
standard.
Like, this is the Super Bowl in the NFL, and you got one team in a great spot and another team in a spot that they don't appreciate.
I get all that, but it would be nothing. That flight is 30 minutes long. You get somebody in there to look at it for an hour and a half, and then you go back. It's not a lot of work to investigate what you're getting into, as opposed to getting there and bitching and complaining about it. That's my only counterpoint.
Here's my question. Who chose which practice field to go to? Like the Chiefs get the state-of-the-art one. It's like, okay, like, is that what they're talking about? It's like the Chiefs kind of getting favoritism here?
Yeah,
for
that would be
a
my
better
beef if the Raiders facility was just handed first to the Chiefs. Like, was there some kind of coin flip? How did that go down?
Well, I would again. I don't have that information. Doogie looked that up. My assumption would be whoever is stated as the home team maybe gets preferential,
Okay.
options here, or the home team gets that spot. I don't know why the Chiefs were in one spot and the Raiders were in the other. But it is a little bit strange that, again, one is even outdoors and the other one is not. But I guess what happened is the NFL put in a sod field on top of the field turf and started laying it just last week.
Oh, no.
When the NFL ordinarily requires Super Bowl practice fields to meet certain standards by December. That's according to Adam Schefter. So this sounds like someone really screwed up. And I don't know. Is this a bulletin board material thing? Is this something Shanahan can use to his favor? Is this something that will have an effect on the game? I'm not sure.
I think they're going to blame it on Taylor Swift. Like, everything's going to be blamed on her. Well, her boyfriend's team got the better field. All of that. You know how it's going to unfold here. There's always going to be. They're going to use that as bulletin board material. Go, that team got the preferential treatment. I'm telling you,
Because
you got to, like, if you're a coach, though, you got to
I'm
say,
joking.
guys, you like the field, you don't like the field. We can't turn this into a thing because it already seems like you're bitching and complaining. And I don't know, as much as it would be disappointing, whatever their feelings are, I would have just kept it in-house and buttoned up where it's like, this is not getting out anywhere because it's just that kind of negative type of energy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I hear you, but if like Carl Spackler, put the sod down like a week ago, and
Who's
you're like,
Carl Spackler?
that's
a
Bill
made-up
Murray.
name.
No,
It's
it's
a
Bill Murray in Caddyshack.
Oh, I forgot.
Like if your boy Bill Murray, maybe he wasn't playing the Pro-Am because he's in charge of the Niners.
He was sodding the Niners practice field.
The exploding ball.
Right. He's working on a short game over there. That does seem like a pretty significant miss here. If you were supposed to have this prepared a month and a half ago and some guy got out there a week ago. But now it's a story, and now you're not going to be able to get that cat back in the bag.
Yeah.
But it sucked this weekend not having football. We've had a long time running of the NFL going, and it's no longer going to be the case.
Well, I'm pumped up for this weekend, but is the line? Is it almost a pick 'em? It's close, right? Where are we at with the line?
It's fluctuated a little bit. I have not looked at it over the weekend. Last time I checked, it was still -2.5 for the Niners, and of course that is courtesy of FanDuel, and it's still at 2.5. And I don't think the total's moved at all either. It's 47.5 is the total, and the spread on FanDuel is Niners 2.5. So And like Super Bowl MVP, it's Mahomes plus 135, Brock Purdy plus 200. I think he gets a pretty good value on like McCaffrey or Kelsey at, McCaffrey plus 450. He punches in 2 touchdowns and, all-purpose yards, 180 all-purpose yards or something. I think that's your MVP. You get plus 450, that's pretty good odds. But it's tough to beat a quarterback. Like they just naturally lean towards the quarterback position. All right, Bruce is coming up here. So we're into the official or unofficial second half of the NHL beginning tonight. There's a bunch of teams that are still on their bye week, which is a bit confusing, including the Kings. And I guess Rob Blake spoke this afternoon about the firing of Todd McClellan. They don't play until Saturday against Edmonton. But this is when it really starts to ratchet up, right? Like this is where you got to make your bones here over the next couple of months to figure out who you are, where you're going to seed, how you feel going into the playoffs. And I will say, this year has really been a year of inconsistencies, I think, across the board.
Yep.
We've stated that a lot recently. Outside of Boston, Vancouver, Winnipeg to an extent, but Winnipeg's had a stumble recently. A bit of a stumble with some injuries and some losses. Every team has had their ups and downs.
Yeah.
So, it may be one of those years where it's simply who gets hot at the right time, as opposed to circling one team and saying they're so good they can't be beat.
And furthermore, whoever gets cold at the wrong time could cost them making the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah.
Like whoever kind of turns into a dumpster fire 2 weeks before the playoffs start, it's game over.
If you're
maybe before that.
You're right. If you're in a race and you lose 5 in a row in the last month or something, like you might be in one. Like this is going to be, you've got to find a way to be consistent from this point on if you're a team that wants to be a playoff team and wants to separate yourself from the pack.
Absolutely. So a lot of pressure on a variety of players, teams, coaches, GMs. Up here we talk consistently about the 7 Canadian teams. I would ask you this as we go through a few different GMs, coaches, players. We saw the Vancouver Canucks get some tidy work done before the break. We saw the Jets get some work done before the break. Who do you think has more pressure to get things done between now and the deadline? Brad Treliving, the GM of the Leafs, or Ken Holland, the GM of the Edmonton Oilers?
That's
Can I go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
I say Tree because he's got cap space right now. Like Holland's got to be creative, and Holland got Perry and he got Holloway. Those are 2 big forwards that he's added to his group. He's still going to continue to add. Where I think Treliving's, we'll call it team situation, it's not a finished product yet. Like he's got Klingberg hasn't been replaced. Mm-hmm. What are you doing in net? Like, what are you going to add up front? Like, to me, there's a lot of question marks where I think Edmonton is like, we're looking to beef up what we have. I think the Leafs, you've said it before, Hayes, and I believe you, they're not one piece away. They're a couple. So that's where I think the pressure is on Brad to figure out those couple moves to make his team to be shored up a little bit.
I'll say Tree as well for the simple fact that there needs to be the Klingberg replacement, and they got to try to shore up that back end to see what the team actually is. And it's almost like, this is extreme, the Oilers are just like somehow on house money with the way they started. Mm-hmm. It's like that 16-game winning streak. Who would have ever thought it? You know what I mean? Like the disappointment and the carnage that happened at the beginning of the year, it's all been forgotten about with what they've done of late. And it's like, I'm not saying there's no pressure. McDavid and Draisaitl did say at the beginning of the year it was cup or bust. And to some degree, that hasn't gone away. But from where they started to where they are now, I don't think it's like that microscope is on them saying, oh, they'd better do this or that. I think there's almost just some thankfulness of what they've done recently.
Yeah. Well, I think you could spin it, multiple ways with what you just stated. Yeah, that's why I think I'd make the case for Holland. Because now what you've also done is, yes, you've made up for the start, but before the year, they had a cup or bust approach. Like everyone was picking them, and now you're back there. Now it's like, okay, look what we've done. Look how we've recovered. We've won 16 in a row. This is it. Like this feels like the best opportunity to give McDavid and Draisaitl their opportunity at winning a Stanley Cup. And I don't think it's a lot of movement, where with Treliving and the Leafs, they want to get to that same status. They probably need a few trades, right? I
Right.
think we all know where they might need to attack. Depth forwards. They probably need a couple of defensemen. And they need to sort out what they're going to do in net. Like that.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily mean it has anything to do with the trade deadline. But Treliving's got to figure out like which 2 tickets am I picking here. Like the news on Wall today again was not promising.
No,
Like
it's not
this guy.
skating. What's
It's not
going
even
on?
close. Like Keefe basically indicated he's weeks away from like.
Sometimes that's I don't know what's up with him, but that's coach speak sometimes.
It can
It's
be,
like,
but
it's weeks away. But in 2 days he plays. You know what I mean? Something like
Wow.
I don't know why he would be motivated to do that. And I'm basically talking out of my ass right now. But sometimes the coach will say he's so
That does
far away.
happen.
It's
I
so
hear you.
far away, and then all of a sudden Friday the guy plays.
I hear you, but again, he wasn't on the ice yesterday. I don't believe wasn't on today. I don't know. He's not going to play in the next week at a minimum.
And
right?
it just stuff like that makes you wonder, like, what the hell is actually wrong with that?
Right,
guy?
a high ankle sprain
Right.
is causing this much concern. Like that, that really is a problem. But again, I think with Holland, the pressure is like to take advantage of
What you
this,
got. Yeah.
basically this get out of jail card. Like they dug themselves out. It was so close to being an unmitigated disaster where they're a mess and it's over and they're fired the coach and they're going to miss the playoffs and everyone's going to yell, "Get McDavid out of there!" And now it's like you're back and you're the favorites to win the cup. You better dig in. Like you got to really dig in here and figure out what pieces you still need. And I think it's depth. I think you need a second goalie you can trust. So there's pressure on both guys, but I think you could spin it with Holland. More on this, scattered throughout the show. We'll ask Bruce Boudreau what he thinks about that. Get his take on his All-Star experience as a coach in the past. Did he get a ring? Did he get paid? You saw Brucey down there this weekend?
I saw Brucey and his wife. I'll let Brucey explain the awkwardness of the introduction of when I saw Brucey and his wife.
Okay. More on that. Bruce Boudreau, awkward introductions downtown during the All-Star game. Hour 2 up next. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.